Welcome back to the DMZ America podcast. I'm Ted Rall, coming to you from the left.
Scott Stantis coming to you from the right.
So, Scott,
Yes,
I have a
Ted.
feeling that I know how you're going to feel about this story. I'll tell you, it made my blood boil. So, the Supreme Court just heard oral arguments in the case of a 94-year-old woman from Minneapolis. She went to court because she sold her condominium. Well, actually, she had a condo. She owed $2,300 in unpaid taxes. And instead of just like letting it go or working with her, the pricks in the county decided to go all house of sand and fog on her ass and on her old granny ass, and seized the condo, forced a sale. And it turned out that aside from the $2,300 in unpaid taxes, I hope they're fucking proud of themselves, really. There was $40,000 in equity in the house, which the county decided to keep also. The Supreme Court seems poised to rule in her favor and say that under the US Constitution, this appears to be a seizure of private property without just compensation. I don't see how anyone could possibly argue against that. Justices Elena Kagan and Neil Gorsuch, not ideological allies, to say the least, both said that it appeared that the county was arguing that they could seize a property worth $1 million over a $1 tax bill. And and so the county doesn't seem to have much of a defense. Neil Katyal, representing the county, said that the victim here said that she wanted nothing, made clear that she had wanted nothing to do with the condo in the 5 years during which she owed back taxes. Why on earth would she just walk away from her home? The lawyer said. The reason, we think, is there was no equity in her home. But of course, obviously, there was equity in the home. There are a lot of cases like this, Scott. Over 8,950 houses have been sold between 2014 and 2021 due to unpaid taxes. The former owners received little or nothing in those states, even though there was substantial equity. And there are cases where hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is my personal favorite case in Cape Cod in Massachusetts. There's a dude who had a tax bill of $900, right? That's 9 Ben Franklins. And the county seized it, and they kept $330,000 in equity in this house. These things happen all the time. It's a violation of the Fifth Amendment. It doesn't look like any Supreme. I think this might be a 9-0 kind of decision. Clarence Thomas, who doesn't usually comment, said in oral arguments at bottom, she's saying the county took her property and made a profit on her surplus equity. It belongs to her, Thomas said.
And then he said, "Want to see my tan line?"
Disgusting. I think it's just absolutely foul.
No, I've been fighting against this kind of thing. Eminent domain, I think, is foul. Anytime the government steps in and takes property, real property or other property away from people, to punish them for not paying their, their tribute to the state. I mean, that's always been, you get a traffic ticket. I mean, look what can happen to you for that. I mean, I went through the justice system in Los Angeles. Ted, I was strip searched. I was arrested and strip searched because I had a delinquent
because you
ticket.
were hot.
Well, there was that. Well, when they dim the lights and put on the romantic music was when I got super nervous. But no, I was thrown in LA County jail, which for a pasty white boy, that's a scary, 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 scary place. I mean, it was.
So wait, what was this about? What happened?
I was pulled over because my tags were, I had not, my registration was out of date. Mm-hmm. So they pulled me over. I said, "Okay, I'm sorry."
By the way, you don't even know, right? Like, who looks at their, the sticker on their license plate or on the front of their car every time they get in? You just don't.
Well, LAPD does, apparently. And so I forgot all about it. I mean, to be honest, I just chucked it in my glove compartment.
By the way, that should be a correction ticket. That should be a ticket when they pull you over. They say, "Okay, get this taken care of in 30 days. Send a Xerox copy of the renewal and then it goes away. If you don't,
Right.
then you get a ticket.
Well,
That's
that
what
you
that should
can
be.
do that, but well, you have to go show up to court to do that. So
Now that shouldn't be
I
the case. You should be able to mail.
I agree, but I'm telling you, this is also in the 70s, early 80s, and I totally forgot. Fast forward to a year later, I get pulled over by Torrance Police Department, which, by the way, has had to shell out tens of millions of dollars in settlements. I regret that I did not take them to court for this, because they arrested me, took my glasses because I was a risk, and then strip searched me in front of a female officer. And that means spread them and cough type of
So the
search.
arrest was based on what? Just because you had expired registration?
Well, that was the initial being pulled over, but the year later was a delinquent payment of the ticket, of the fine.
Mm.
So
Why didn't you pay the fine, scofflaw?
Yeah, well, because I forgot and it wasn't important to me, and it was, anyhow.
You paid the fine after you're going to jail.
Well, I got screwed, not literally, happily, but I did get I'm standing in front of a judge, and I wear my suit and tie. I'm this pasty white boy, and he says, "Well, how do you plead?" I go, "No contest." He goes, $500. This is back in 1980.
A lot of money.
I'm a messenger for a fucking bank. I don't make $500 in a month.
Yeah, but you work at a bank, you can steal the money.
Well, and that's what I ended up doing.
No, you don't.
But my point is that, we talk about the government and the police especially acting as the enforcers for shakedowns of citizens for money. And that's what this was. This is stealing a person's property. I'm assuming this woman lived there. Is that
my impression is that she left. That basically she was, I know, I remember this story. She was in a nursing home. She had been sent to an assisted living type facility. I don't know if memory care was involved or not. I'm not sure. That would just be speculation. But anyway, she still owned the condo. So it's one of those situations where anybody with elderly parents is familiar with. The parent is out of the house, in this case, grandparent, but it's still her house. And maybe she didn't, I don't know if her family just didn't take care of it for her, or if she just didn't have family to do it. To me, I go ding, 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 94 years old. She just lost track of it, right? I mean, we're not talking about a shit ton of money. I mean, $2,300 for 5 years of taxes. I mean, obviously it was a modest condo, or the tax rate must not be that high. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't think they should. I think there should be a law that says that even if you blow off your taxes, they can put a lien on it so that if you ever sell it, then the county gets their blood money. But, unless you owe shit tons of money, they should not be able to seize your property.
Well, this also dovetails well into a bigger issue, Ted, of property taxes and what's happened to them across the country. Because during COVID, obviously, the properties were, and 0% interest rates were being scooped up by corporations because, why the fuck not? And driving property values through the roof. Now, there are people in South Side of Chicago work their asses off. I mean, really, the salt of the earth, blue collar types were able to afford and get a small house, a little piece of the American dream. And that house has gone from value of 140,000 up to 400,000 within 2 years.
Right. So their property.
And guess what this? Well, I know
amount.
this will shock you. The county all of a sudden says, "Well, your property is assessed at 400,000. That's your property tax obligation now."
Right. If you're lucky, by the way, New York is even worse. New York literally assumes that your property has increased in value every single year, regardless. So I bought a house in the Hamptons in 2004. Something happened in 2008, 2009 to the economy. The real estate bubble. So the the house went down in value. I would have been lucky to have sold it for 2/3 of what I paid for it by 2008, 2009. But New York State, always optimistic, they had a formula that basically said that the value of the house, every house in the state, regardless of where it is or which town it's in or what kind of house it is, went up every year by 10 or 12 or 15%. Now, I was like, so I remember it's ridiculous. You'd have to grieve your taxes every couple of years. Every couple of years, you have to hire someone, an assessor, to come in and say, no, this house is not worth that much money. You fill out a bunch of forms. they reduce your, they bring it back to what your house is actually worth, and then the formula starts kicking in. You have to do this every few years, and it's absurd, and not everybody can afford to get the assessment. I mean, it's absurd. And I remember walking into the zoning board in my town and saying, like, if you think my house is worth this much, I tell you what, I'll take $100,000 less than that. You buy it right now and flip it.
Yeah,
And the
just
guy
turn around and
laughed,
stop.
right?
Yeah.
Of course.
In Chicago and Cook County, they have the board of review. They don't know. Most people don't even know what they're voting for. And what it is three guys who do exactly what you just described. They sit on a board and they review tax assessments and whether or not they're well, guess who abuses and gets easy access to that? I know this will shock you in 21st century America. Who gets to abuse that and use that system the most?
You tell me.
Cats. No, the wealthy, the guys who had a ton of money, they also had the board of review, two of them. Now it's three. They had one Republican in there who was a great, Dan Patlick was his name. And Dan was like the dullest man on the planet, which is exactly the person you want in that job.
True.
Honest as the day is long. But the other corrupt Democrats in that county would make, whoever got, the people who got to the front of the line were the heavy donators to the Democratic Party and guys who were close friends with the Democratic heavy hitters in that community. I mean, it was insane. And so the poor schmuck I mentioned a moment ago, who living in the South Side of Chicago, gets fucked and probably loses their house because of an onerous tax bill, or even what might be a reasonable tax bill to you and I. But I mean, this is the state coming down. This is where it makes me a libertarian in many ways. It's just the state using the hammer to enforce its rules. And this isn't like Law and Order, right? This isn't going to hurt anybody.
No, who cares? I mean, like, I doubt that the municipality really needed her $2,400 that much. By the way, this is like from one of their briefing papers. This is from the defendants, from the county. They said this grandmother, quote, believes the Constitution required the state to serve as her real estate agent, sell the property on her behalf, and write a check for the difference between the tax debt and the fair market value. You know what I say? That's fucking right. That's exactly fucking right.
Well, I take it a step further and say that the state had no right to take her property, period.
What about if the debt, I agree with you, but what if the debt, I mean, are there any circumstances in which we'd make an exception? Like, let's say the person had like a really sizable debt for some reason.
Well, they also have RICO laws for drug dealers and so on. I think that I'm using that correctly. They could go and take their property. They could get their boats, get their cars, get their
asset forfeiture. Which, by the way, is really wrong also.
Well, it's wrong because it fucks over people. Guess what? Normal people who are innocent get stuck in that system. Their shit gets sold and they're SOL.
Yeah, well, the thing that's crazy is most people who lose their cars or cash or other valuables to asset forfeiture have literally never been found guilty or even charged with any crime at all. I mean, they're literally innocent under American law.
Not charged, because I know
not even charged. And so what happens is, like, literally this happened. I mean, I swear, if you're listening to us right now, you should tell yourself, as a skeptical person, Ted and Scott are crazy. I don't believe them. So Google it.
Yeah.
Like, literally,
please.
Look up asset forfeiture abuse. So cops literally will sit on the highway and they'll see a really cool car, like a Dodge Challenger or a Dodge Charger are two of their favorite models for this. And they'll pull you over on a precept, and then they'll search your car. And, let's say you're someone who's, you're on your way somewhere because you're going to buy, someone's boat from them used, and you've brought $30,000 in cash. Only a drug dealer would ever have $30,000 in cash, or, no one deals in cash unless they're committing a crime. Bam, asset forfeiture. They take the cash, they take the car, they take the car for the local police and convert it to a police car for that. And then they take the cash, they use it to buy goodies for the police department. And so, let's just say you're like Ted Rall and you're litigious. Then you hire, Ted Rall has to hire an attorney, a local attorney, and pursue these assholes in court. Well, it's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars before you finally get your shit back, which might not be worth tens of thousands of dollars. Or, you may not have, after they took your cash, another tens of thousands of dollars to get your shit back. And even if you do succeed, you don't get your legal fees paid for by the people who took your stuff. So a lot of people just throw up their hands up the air. They say, you can't fight City Hall, and they just walk away. This is billions and billions of dollars a year being stolen by highway robbers in uniform all across the United States every single year.
I'm going to turn you into a libertarian yet, Ted. I swear to God.
Well, I mean, I like a lot of aspects of libertarianism. The liberty part in particular. I still think we need some way to pave roads and pay firefighters and stuff like that.
Ways. There's the Reasons Foundation has put out many papers on these types of issues and talked about it. Real quick, can I educate you and the rest of our listeners real quick on what to do if you're pulled over? I just learned this recently, and you may already know it. But
please.
Very briefly, you're pulled over, and you pull over. The cop comes to you, and what's the first thing he says to you, Ted? You roll down.
Well, they'll say, "Do you know why I pulled you over?"
There it is. You know what you say?
I don't know.
There it is. You say no, because what he's trying to do right out of the chute. This isn't like him trying to.
And by the way, that's a truthful answer. You don't know. You could have been driving 100, but that might not be why he pulled you over.
Exactly. But what he's trying to do is entrap you. What he's trying to do right out of the chute.
Self-incriminate.
Right. So you have a right not to do that. So they say that. The second thing he asks is ID and registration.
Driver's license and registration, please.
To that you say.
And insurance.
To that, but you don't have to do any of that. Did you know that?
No, that part I did not know.
You say why, and he has to tell you. Now he may have cause, and the only reason he can do that is if he has cause.
Like the cause might be I clocked you going 72 in a 55 or whatever. Is that cause?
Yeah. Yes, but he has to have cause. You can, and you legitimately can say why. And the last one, which is a hard no, everyone listening to my voice, a hard no is, may I search your car?
Oh yeah, and you say, no, you may not. I respectfully refuse you permission.
Yes, unless you have a search warrant.
But if they do, you don't fight them physically or anything, obviously.
No.
And you fight it in court.
Right. I'm just saying that, the impression whenever I was pulled over is that, as I mentioned earlier about my little, incarceration story, is that you don't have to answer their questions unless you're charged with a serious crime. And sorry, speeding is not a serious crime.
Yeah, you don't know. I think, but there are some exceptions to that, right? Like, aren't you in most states required to submit to a blood alcohol test?
No.
Or maybe, or you, I
guess
they can take your license away.
They need a warrant. They need a warrant to draw blood or to test urine or whatever tests and they have to take you into the police station. They have to get a warrant. So yeah, if they ask you to blow into something or they want to, you say no.
I respectfully decline. Right.
Yeah.
Plus, of course, obviously, it's probably not a bad idea if you just were coming from your AA meeting and you haven't had a drink in months, then blow by all means.
I think trying to outsmart them is a mistake. Anyway, because it comes back to what we were just talking about, Ted. The state's out to fuck you out of your money.
That's
and the
true.
cops are the muscle to do it.
And they lie. And Supreme Court has repeatedly said that the police have a right to lie to you.
Have they?
Yeah, they do. They can say, for example, like, Mr. Stantis, you might as well admit that you and Ted Rall robbed the bank because Ted already spilled the beans on you. We know he and Clovis told everything about your conspiracy. And even
Clovis,
and they could be telling the same thing to me and Clovis at the same time. Right. And at the same time but that none of that could be true, right? It's the prisoner's dilemma. And you should assume, of course, that the cops are lying, and courts have repeatedly ruled that they can lie.
Interesting. Well, folks, like we say,
know your rights, like the Clash said. Know your rights.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
All right, Scott. So I think that does it for today's
Woohoo!
podcast. It was fun. Where can people find all things Stantis?
All things Scott. You can go to gocomics.com and /Scott Stantis, one word, and see my editorial cartoons. You can go to gocomics.com/prickly city and see my comic strip, interestingly called Prickly City. You can go to the Chicago Tribune and check out the gallery of work I do for them. You can go to Dallas News and see the work I do for the Dallas Morning News. And you can hear us on Centerclip, a free app that's available to you. And it has Ted Rall, it has me, it has other really top commentators. They're effectively short blogs. I mean, short podcasts, not unlike this one.
Mini pods,
mini pods,
micropods,
30 seconds to 5 minutes long. And it's really been fun. This morning, I knocked out a bunch of them because there's a bunch of issues that happened that I just wanted to make a short comment on. And so it's a pretty groovy site. And I really strongly urge you to subscribe to it and pick.
Did you just
and
say
like I said,
pretty
it's
groovy?
free.
Did you just say pretty groovy?
I did. It is groovy, man.
Dude. All right. Well, I don't know how to top that, and I'm not going to try.
Where can we see your stuff, Ted?
Well, in addition to that stuff, you can find me that we have in common. You can find me at gocomics.com/Ted Rall, whowhatwhy.org, and sputniknews.com. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, you can find my comic. And newly and perhaps most notably these days, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. till 12 noon Eastern time, you can find me co-hosting on Sputnik News a talk radio show called
It's the Final Countdown.
Called that, exactly. The Final Countdown with me and Manila Chan. 10 to 12 Monday through Friday. You can just listen to it through the website. You can't download the app anymore because this land of the free has banned it from the Apple Store and the Google Play Store. But whatever, just go through the website. It's easy. You just click the little play button, and also it's on Rumble, so you don't have to listen to it live. So anyway, I
tried listening to it via my Alexa,
Oh, does it work?
Nope. Said it won't do it.
Alexa is a censoring piece of shit. Yes. All right. So, and Scott, you're going to be, you're going to be on tomorrow with,
I am
on the Final Countdown on the lead panel at 10 a.m. Eastern. So that'll be fun. So anyway, thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back next week or earlier if something interesting happens.
Well, by the way, it will be the 100th episode. Yeah.
And it'll be the week of International Workers' Day.
Arise, ye children of starvation. Arise, ye wretched of the earth. For the International will free the human race. Come on, everybody.
All right, Scott Stantis put it there. All right. We'll see. We're going to end on a high. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.